Welcome to Nomad Media, Automotive Tales, where we tell vehicle stories, a little bit of history, and some unique and personal experiences. Let's get right into it. Welcome back, and today we have Tim Herfurth with his 1967 Chevrolet Camaro RS. And RS, you know, stands for Rally Sport, and we're gonna get real sporty here with this rally car. So, but Tim here, he's been gracious enough to give me some of his time on this lovely day, and we're gonna talk about his car here. Tim, how about you tell us the story of this car, man?
Well, this car goes back to probably 1980, 81. Okay. So me and my buddies grew up working on cars, and we've been working on cars since we were probably 12, 14 years old, you know. And so we learn as we went, you know. It was a figure it out as you went kind of learning experience. So as we got older and could afford to buy cars, you know, I had a 66 Chevy too that I used to, you know, run around in, had a hot 302 motor, and my buddy had this car.
So this was your buddy's car?
This was my buddy's car.
Okay.
It was, you know, 67. At that time, he had a 350 in it. It was a pretty hot motor. So we used to race him around, you know, and have fun with these cars. And so as time went along, he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to get rid of that Camaro. It's like, well, I want it, you know. He said, well, I got to keep the drivetrain. I said, okay, you can have the drivetrain. So I ended up getting the car from him, $1,500. And this was probably about 80, 81. I don't have the timing just right, because it's been so many years now.
Man, I love it when people have these like they have these like, I bought it for $1,500.
Yeah, $1,500.
Like one of the last guys, hopefully it's the one before this video, he was like $3,500 for 69 Charger.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I wish I would have saved my candy bar money in the early 2000s and bought one.
Well, you know, I mean, in those days, we didn't make any money. So, I mean, any money was a lot of money. So, I mean, but in hindsight, $1,500 is not nothing.
Not this
Not
day
and age. And
yeah.
then it was still cheap, you know, so.
Well, no one thought these cars would be what they are today.
Yeah, so we, you know, me and all my buddies, we had all these cars, you know, if we could have just saved them. But we didn't know. I mean, we didn't have any money. You know, there was no way to save old cars back then. So
no one thought cars would be going the way they are now.
We didn't think no, right. So we'd have a warehouse full, you know, and I guess some people were smart enough to do that. But I still had the Chevy too. And I started working on the Camaro a little bit. So I was like, what am I going to do with this car? So I just got it back running. I think I found a turbo 350 and I put in it and kind of cleaned it up a little bit, and I think I ended up buying, I can't remember exactly, he had a pretty hot built 350, so I think I ended up buying that short block from him back because he had taken the heads and intake and stuff, everything off of it, and I found enough parts to get it back running. So I drove it around like that for a little while, and I think I put 456 gears in it, and it was a pretty fast car.
456 gears,
and
though,
it was screaming, it would go. And so I drove it like that for a while. But you know, that gets old. Yeah. I mean, it's a hot rod. And so
everybody these days is all about, I want an overdrive in my car. Well, and I'm like, man, just drive your car, you'll be all right.
Well, this one's got overdrive now, but
right.
At that time,
I'm talking about comparing to the 454 years. What you said? 450.
This one?
You said it had 450.
Well, then that day I had put 456 gears in.
456
That's not what it's got now, but it was pretty racy, you know, for, you know, street car.
Yeah.
And so,
You'd get down to best.
and I still had my Chevy too that was racy. You know, that was my hot rod car.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm tired of this. You know, so, and I needed I think I had another daily driver. I think I had a 69 Javelin. I can't remember the timing I had that one. But I wanted to drive this car, and I wanted to drive it. So I said, okay. So I pulled that motor out, pulled the gears back out, put 350 gears in it, put a bone stock, I built a bone stock 327, and put rally wheels on it, paint job, new carpet, seat covers, you know, kind of got it looking nice. And that was my daily driver for from 81 to 86, 85. Drove it for 4 years straight. You know, 16, I could get 16 miles a gallon. I drove it everywhere and loved it. Drove a really good driving car.
As for our conversation earlier here, talking about driving these old cars too, you know, in 81 to 86, 85, you said? It's like, you know, thinking about that there too, it's like just comparing the conversation we had earlier, which was about riding in different modern cars versus these old cars. It's like, you're talking about 81 to 85, so honestly, it wasn't that big of a difference as it would be this day.
No, it wasn't. I mean, mid-80 cars were nicer, but they weren't like today's cars. You know?
Yeah.
So I was just thrilled to drive this every day. I mean, it was like, got a lot of attention, you know. People liked them, but they weren't as, I guess, classic as they are now, you know, because they weren't as rare.
You're coming off of the Gen 2 or Gen 1 Camaro into the Gen 2 at that time. So
the Gen 2s were first coming out, because I mean, I know a
Gen 3
coworker
would have just been coming out.
Well, whatever, the 82. Yeah,
82,
Gen 3.
Gen
The Gen
3.
3. So a friend, a coworker of mine had just bought her an 82. So I had mine and hers, and it's like, that's a cool car, you know. So, you know, not everybody drove classic cars. Even then, not everybody drove classic cars every day. So it kind of went that way. So then I kind of got tired of that, you know. So I can't drive this, you know, as you know, life, as you get older and life changes. So I ended up buying a new pickup truck for my daily driver, and this was just parked. This was a weekend car, just have fun with it when I needed to.
Yeah.
So then life changes, and kids and house, and, you know, your expenses and your commitment to work and all that is, you know,
It changes
puts it to the back burner.
Yeah.
So the car's just sitting there, in that, you know, and it's deteriorating, and so.
And it starts eating at you one day, and it's just like.
So even in our early days when we were hot rodding cars, we all had full-time jobs. So hot rodding we worked on people's cars to earn money to feed the habit of buying hot rod parts, you know, building cars. So
Well, that's how
a lot of people probably started.
That's how the itch gets started. It's like you get your first job or something, and it's like, I can go buy that Holly carburetor now. I can go buy those heads. I can go buy. I can get a cam now. I can do exhaust.
And and probably everybody tells you, like in the old days, and I call those old. That's not really that old, but
It's in the past.
you couldn't buy parts like you can now. You had to find them, a lot of them, you know, rework them or get them from people you knew, and word of mouth. Hey, this guy's got a transmission. This guy's got a block over here, and so you would piece together stuff, and it was a little bit tougher, but fun. You know, we were young, and
That keeps the interest though.
had all kind of energy, so we'd do whatever.
I feel like this day and age, like with the internet, like parts are easier to find, but it's like, it's one of those things, it's like you tell somebody, like I run into this a lot, like with some of my other vehicles. It's like, not the Charger, but like the other vehicles.
Right.
It's like, you know, I'll sit there and think like, you know, I can go online and buy this part for $200, or I could look around and probably find it for like 20 somewhere. And it's like, but the thing is like that it's simplicity. The simplicity, which that's what you're really paying for, is the convenience of it, you know? So it's just, but when it's things that are convenient are not rewarding.
Right.
So it's just like, I don't know, there's a balance there.
There is a
somewhere,
balance.
but
It's like, can I use the old or can I do convenient, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and I got some convenience stories about this thing, but anyway, so, you know, life goes on, kids and the cars, you know, since it was just kind of a cosmetic, you know, paint job restoration. I won't even call it a restoration. It was just a cleanup from the first time. You know, that's starting to deteriorate, and the paint's gone, and you know, it's not pretty to drive anymore. So it still drives great, but so I decided I'm going to start doing something else with it. So I'm going to put 4-wheel disc brakes on it. I'm going to make it a little more manageable to drive. And so I did that, put like the GM brakes on it, the Cadillac rear caliper brakes on the back, and would continue to drive it. So my daughter's getting a little older. You know, she helped me bleed the brakes and work on the car a little bit when she was young. Then she got older and she wouldn't have anything to do with that after that. But even in her early days, you know, baby, come out here, let me bleed the brakes. You know, I got somebody to pump, you know, while I bleed the brake. Yeah. Anyway, so that car went that way for a little while. So then finally, I don't know when it was, probably the early 2004, somewhere around there. I've been working on this car a long time, on and off.
Well, so you say you've owned it since 81.
81.
So, like, you've got some history with
it. So during that time period, from when I first got the car to like when I really started working on it hard, as I was seriously working on it, it was mostly inside. I mean, I kept it in the garage or covered up if it was outside any. And so the car didn't get a lot of weathered abuse, which paid off in certain ways.
Didn't have to cut your quarter fender off or anything like that?
Well, no, I did. We did have to do all that. The rockers were good. You know, the rockers were notorious on these cars to rust out. My rockers are perfect.
Okay, so you still had to do the cutting though.
Still had to do a lot of other things. So, so I said, okay, I'm going to start taking the car apart and get a little more serious with it. So, you know how that goes. You start taking something off, and then you take something else off, and then I'm going to work on this. So it's like, this is not good. And then you take this off, this is not good.
So keep that in mind here. If you get your car like that you want to rebuild or something like that, they don't start off perfect.
No surprise.
Unless you're going to dump a ton of money into it. But like, you don't get to this level most of the time as your first vehicle.
No, it's hard. I mean, we grew up working on cars, so we learned a lot. You know, my buddy was a heavier mechanic than I was. I'd leaned toward paint and body. So we worked together, and we restored a few cars. We built a few cars. We mostly did just things to learn, I mean, and make a little money. But at any rate, so that helped, you know, in starting something serious. So the more I took off on this car, the worse it got. I mean, you know how that goes. It's rust there. So it's like, you get to a point where, okay, the whole thing's got to come apart. There's no way around it. So the whole thing's apart.
Just a body on a rotisserie.
Just a body. It's stripped bare. Nothing in it. So I take it, you know, so these are kind of like major steps of starting to restore it. So I took it and got it media blasted. Everything, you know, then you could expose really what was rusted out.
Yeah, if you got those light spots, maybe little pinpoints somewhere.
So I got that done. Guy in Owens Crossroads did that for me, and
I may need to get that guy's name here.
I think he's still going. I'll track him down, and he did a great job. And so floor pans were rusted because it had a water leak, which I've now discovered something about Camaros. I can tell people where this water leak is, which I never could figure out before.
Well, but I figured don't hold out.
Well, I will. So it had this water leak. I never could figure out where the water's coming from. And so on Camaros, and the Camaro guys probably know this, but I discovered it later. You take the fender off where they weld the cowls together, the cowl panel and the side cowl panel together. There's a seam there, and it goes straight into the cowl vent area, and it's, you know, sealed from the factory, and they put all that sealer and then the big goopy blob of sealant on it. Well, it all dry rots and falls out, and the water runs right into the floorboard. And so I finally discovered that after I tore the car apart, but I didn't know where to look there, you know, because you just didn't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the car's coming apart, and it's kind of like major segments of all right, I'm media blasting it, and I get it all tore down, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to have quarter panels, because it's, they always rust out on the lips,
Right.
Camaros, and they rust out because they collect water in the back window trim, so it rusts out between the filler panel and the quarter.
So thinking on that right there,
Yeah.
just a question for that is like, because thinking, I'm more in the Mopar world these
Yeah, yeah.
days, but it's like one of the Mopar problems is always going to be vinyl tops.
Right,
I know
right.
Camaros came with vinyl
Yeah.
tops. So is that a big problem for Camaros?
Yeah,
too?
they would. Anywhere that the trim, this trim.
I'm assuming this wasn't a vinyl top
No, it
car,
wasn't.
but it's
This is
still
how
just
the
a
car
question.
looked, except for the cow hood.
Okay.
But anyway, so it was rusted out there. It was and it turns out, after I got the car totally tore apart, quarter panels, it was in a terrible wreck. Even before my buddy had it, it was probably, I'm guessing, in the 70s at some point. It was in a real bad wreck. So it was put back together, but when I tore it apart, I exposed all the repairs.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole quarter panel was caved in. Even the inner part of the quarter was caved in and had just been bondoed up. The frame rail on the frame horn was bent, and all just kind of beat back out. So there was a lot of bad stuff on it. And so this door had been replaced. Actually, this is a junkyard door.
Don't be surprised when you get your first car, all right, guys?
Yeah, there's a lot. And I replaced the passenger door because it turns out it was just too beat up. So I had done that the first go around. Actually, that door is off of a Firebird, which is the same door, but in a '67 with a standard interior. So.
So he's saying he's got about half a Camaro here.
Yeah, half a Camaro. They were the same cars.
Everything else is GM.
Yeah, most of the cars were the same. But anyway, so I decided, okay, I need so much sheet metal work. That's kind of a little bit out of my wheelhouse to do it right. So I called up the guys at AMD Installation Center. They're over in Cleveland, Georgia. If you buy the AMD replacement sheet metal, they have an installation center.
Oh, okay.
They did a great job. So I took the car over there.
Mm-hmm.
They put quarter panels on it, a new floor pan, tail pan, because it was beat up real bad from the wreck, filler panel, the outer cowl panels. The dash had a little bitty rust spot in it, but he wanted to replace the dash. So I said, okay, put a new dash in it.
So how much of the car did you take over there? Like, did you just take the body, or was it?
The rear end was just in there.
So it was a roller.
It was a roller. It had the frame, but the engine, everything was stripped off of it.
Okay.
So the original suspension was kind of hanging on it, and the wheels were on it. You could roll it around.
So it was just a roller. Okay.
I just rolled it on a trailer and took it over there.
I'm making note of that because it's like just for purposes here, if you're wondering.
Yeah.
If anyone's watching, is wondering.
So it's getting pretty major now, so I'm getting pretty serious with the car. So get it back. He did a fantastic job. Everything lines up really well. So I got a car back, new sheet metal. So I start continuing to work on it, sealing up, doing seam sealer on the floor pans and the trunk. The trunk wasn't rusted out, imagine that, but it was in great shape. So then I got a new, he had discovered while he had the car that from the wreck, it was a little bit tweaked, and he pulled on the body to get it a little more squared up, because I never could get it squared up right when I first worked on it. It was always a little bit wonky, I couldn't get the fenders to line up with it would align and drive good, but it was just, it had a gap bigger on one side. I never could get it squared up. And so he discovered that and pulled on it.
Was it so you're saying it's the body, or was the frame?
It was this area of the front door post area, where the cowl comes together. He kind of pulled on this part of it to kind of,
okay.
It was just a little bit pushed in, because it was hit really hard on this side and the nose, and so it probably twisted the car a little bit.
Okay.
And so he kind of untwisted it some, not much, but
Just
since he had a
everything lined
frame machine, he could measure all the data points. He figured out, hey, this needs a little work. And so did a great job. So just continued to work on it. Then so I got a new frame, not an aftermarket frame, it was aftermarket OEM style frame. So it was I guess a factory replacement frame.
Okay.
So I hung that on it, did all the paint work to get the frame painted and get it. Then I started, I knew I was going to put better suspension under it, but I still didn't have a clear vision on where the car was going. You know, I still was leaning towards stock. You know, stock appearing, decent motor and tranny with rally wheels, you know, stock looking car, like it always had kind of been.
Yeah.
And
you went a little far from that right now.
well, yeah. So then I put the tubular A arms coil. Well, along about this time, when I'm in the middle of kind of getting the suspension put together, and I kind of was still not sure where I'm going with it. Me and a friend of mine had went to the Street Rod Nationals in Louisville, Kentucky. And that, I don't know if you've ever been to that one or one like that one. It's like an eye opener.
Is it like a drag race
No,
show? Or?
it was at the fairgrounds. There's like 11,000 cars there.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you
you
can't see them all.
Well, I've been to Mo Party, but
Well, that's
like,
probably something like that.
So
So it was like an eye opener for me because I was so unclear with the direction that
gave you a bunch of
it
ideas.
it was a brain overload because, man, you got mega high-end cars that are inside the show part of the show, and then you got all these cars outside the show, and there's just, you know, it's just overload.
Yeah.
You know, you can't see them all. But one thing, so there's a Camaro there, and it's just like I want it. It's a complete stock restoration of a RS 67, same color, everything. And it's got the rally wheels, and it's complete stock restoration. I said, man, this thing is gorgeous. However, it's not real exciting.
Yep.
Yep, right?
Yep.
Have you been there before?
So I will say that, you know, you're the first person to ever mention this. And like, honestly, I'm really glad you did.
Yeah.
So like talking about like the excitement of a stock car.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I don't get excited for them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're cool. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. Like I'd love to have a stock Superbird,
Right.
or something
Right.
wild, something that's already wild.
Cars deserve to be
but-
stock because they're original and their numbers
Something-
matching, and
something
you
wild
need to
like
kind of
that.
don't drift too far off.
Yeah,
of
I would
it.
love to have that.
Yeah.
But like talking about like using more of the, like, let's use my Charger personally for the more of the comparison here is like, I want to make it mine because the stock is just, I didn't grow up with Magnum 500 wheels. I didn't grow up with rally wheels. I didn't grow up with this drum brakes,
Yeah, well,
for
this-
example.
yeah.
'Cause I know I have Willwoods on mine as well, so, or Wildwoods, however you pronounce
I
it.
don't know how to do it.
But it's like, I have all that on mine too. It's flashy and it's, but I'm like, one, it's mine. And then I'm like, but it gets attention.
Yeah.
Where with the stock stuff, yeah, it gets attention, but like you said, it's
well,
kind of,
you know, I grew up with stock stuff. Appreciate the rally wheels, the Magnum 500 wheels, all that.
Oh,
you
I
know,
think they look great,
They're
so I'm not-
fantastic looks.
it's dated though for someone
but
my
it's
age.
dated. And so I'm in this show, you know, right? And it's like, and I've been exposed to hot rod nice cars, but you know, in a limiting way, in what was in our area, never overloaded with this many cars at one time.
Here's a way to put it, actually, is like Magnum 500s back like in the 80s, like Magnum 500s, they're still gorgeous wheel, but in the 80s, like you were mentioning, you couldn't just go online and you've got literally every design that anyone's ever made at your fingertips.
I know.
And like you get to see them and be like, man, that's a cool design, or that's wild, or that's crazy, you know? So like, sorry.
No, that's
sorry
cool.
to interrupt.
I'm just
I
trying
want
to
point it
ramble
out.
about my thoughts, but so one thing became extremely clear at that show. Everything was lowered. Everything was cool and lowered, custom and lowered, modified, lowered. It was all about looking cool. And so, and now it was like okay, I got the vision now. I know what it needs to look like. And so it turned out exactly how I thought I wanted it to look like. So then I get back, and so then it's like, I know what I'm gonna do. And so, I'm gonna lower it as much as I can. So I put 2-inch drop spindles in the front with the QA1 coilovers that I can adjust. I put 3-inch drop springs in the back, so I'm getting it down. A lot of people don't realize it's lowered. They don't notice it.
This is very.
It's low.
Yeah.
And so
Now, I guess I'm another cut of another cloth there. But
yeah, some people don't quite see it, but yeah. And some of that is because the wheel diameters are a little bit smaller to accommodate that lowering.
What size wheels do you have on it?
Well, these are 18s, but it's the actual, if you put actual rally wheel like 14s or 15s, they're just a little bit taller. And so if you put those on it while it's lower here, man, they're really sucked up into the fenders.
Okay, you're talking about overall
diameter. It really looks kind of goofy almost. And so anyway, so I'm on the low thing now. Everything's got to be low, which causes all kind of other problems. But anyway, I kind of wanted it to have that cool low look.
Well, you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, so then that's like, okay, about the wheels. And I found this company, Bosie in California, about the wheels. And a lot of people that the shows It's Been Too Late me has asked about the wheels. How'd you do the wheel? Did you get lucky on the wheels? I said, nope. We planned that out pretty well. And so I saw this design that they had. Super nice folks at Bosie, that guy named Larry Kingsland. And he's the owner, and his son run the company. And he talked me through how to fit the tires. I wanted the biggest tire I could get in the back without doing wheel tubs, just to leave it stock, and the biggest one I could get in the front. So we worked out a design. Oh, he had the design. We worked out the back spacing, and from the measurements I gave him, he wanted me to measure everything. And so it's pretty tight. I mean, I can just get my finger in there.
Oh yeah, I've been looking at it here the whole time.
Yeah,
like, man,
so
that's a big tire.
it's in there. So he's hit the nail on the head, man. It fit. It's about the same thing on the inside. It will not. You can't get a bigger tire in there. But I didn't want to cut the wheel wells. A buddy of mine built his, and it's cool, but he put the mini tubs in it, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to modify it, but I didn't want to go too much. I still wanted it to be old school.
You want to keep it mild.
Kinda. So then Shane's Auto Body up in Hazel Green did the initial body work on it, kind of getting from all the sheet metal work, kind of getting it filled. And then I started putting it together. I had to replace this fender with a new old stock GM. I bought a cowl induction hood, and the right fender's still original. Deck lid's original. Doors that were, changed in the first wreck.
Original to you.
Original to me. They're still original to the car. They're not recently replaced. All the other sheet metal is replaced. And so started gradually putting it together. I wanted it to be modern and lower and cool looking, but still old school. When I first started this, midway through this, people were like, oh, you got to put an LS engine in. You got to put an LS engine. That's what everybody's doing, LS motor. Yeah. That's like, yeah, I know, but I'm old school. So I want it to be old school for a reason, so went old school with the motor. And I'm glad I did, because there's a lot of cars got LS motors. Yeah. To me, and that's just me, I don't fault anybody that does it. But to me, if I was building a street rod or something, that I'm gonna cruise around in and put an LS motor in it, that's when I would do that. But this kind of car, I think, it's going with the old school. So
that's where, I'm kind of glad you said that too. And it's like, when I say I'm kind of glad you said that, it's like, well, I mention this every time someone says this. It's like I'm always happy someone says this. It's like, build it the way you want it.
Yeah, I built
Like,
it the way I want it.
It's like, no, like, why'd you do that? LS is better, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, it's
And
like,
they are cool. They're dry,
LS,
smooth, and all
LS is
that.
a great engine. We're not saying that.
Yeah, you can
It's
hop
not
them
what I
up.
wanted. It's not what you wanted.
Yeah, I didn't want to want.
So
I wanted it to be that era
yeah,
of the car. Actually, this car,
my,
and see,
my-
I didn't mind modifying it a lot because there's nothing original about it. Right. This was a 6-cylinder car, Power Glide, original life. But not, all that was gone, obviously. But but it was an original RS car, 6-cylinder Power Glide. It did have some options. It had an optional tinted glass, had the console, the trim level, and so it was probably a pretty nice car in its day, although not powerful. But and oddly enough, in a small world, the owner of my company worked as a GM engineer when he was young. He's in his 80s now. He worked at Norwood where this car was built. He was there when this car was built, and we talk about it. It was built in December of '66. So it's just cool how it's a small
I probably
world.
put something on that car.
Huh?
I probably put something.
Well,
on that
he didn't
car
actually
at the time.
assemble them, but he was part of the team that helped, work on the fabrications of getting things assembled. And I even asked him about how in the world did they put this? Because putting the front clip on these things, hanging the fenders, the grill, they're kind of a pain. Especially hard not to scratch it up. So, and he said they worked a lot on that. They had to build jigs, and they had to train people how to assemble.
Oh, I know
You
all
probably know about that
Yep.
working at Mazda Toyota.
Yep.
And so that was just fun to hear him talk about it. He said, well, you were there. And so, so anyway, I wanted to build a big block car, so I had a car engine builder build a big block for me, which is, oddly enough, this is the first car I've had that I didn't build the motor myself. So I'm a little sad about that, but not. It's like, okay, I'll let somebody else do it.
Well,
I'm getting older.
You've only owned it for 40
years. And I
43
put 2
years,
motors in
and
it
it's like,
already.
So whenever you go to motor number 3, you just build it yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Or it's like, maybe one day here, next week or two, maybe. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
I'm gonna poke at you a little bit and be like, maybe you just start like, hey, I'm gonna start putting away $100 a week or something.
Yeah.
And and then eventually you're gonna pop a motor into like, hey honey, I got a motor on an engine stand out here. Or hey honey, don't look under the tarp in the garage.
Yeah, well, it took a long time to build the car because, life gets in the way. And I'm always been one to help other people. So a lot of that got in the way. I'd rather help somebody than do my own stuff.
I'd say I offer all the time to people, and no one ever asks.
Well,
no one ever takes me up on it. I'm like, okay, well, I mean,
Even in our
you
hot
don't have
rod
to.
days, we spent more time working on other people's cars than ours, but it's how you learn. I mean,
yeah, that's how you get good at it.
so that's how, what took me a while, to get this thing done. So I'd go through periods of time, you run out of money, you're too busy, and you put the project away. So about, during the COVID time, it wasn't because of COVID, it was just about that timing, about 2020, I really I got to finish this car. I got to get it done. And so it was just like full on race to get it done. And so I've been working on it hard ever since.
So when did you start the restoration?
Probably early, about 2004, 5, somewhere around in there maybe.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah,
so long
time. But
restoration.
see, it went a long periods of time where I didn't do anything about it. So
Right,
it wasn't
right.
like that long a restoration.
Well,
It
I
was
know
just
all
like-
about that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a truck sitting over here that I haven't touched in months. So it's
Yeah,
like,
it's like you push it to the side and work on other things, help other people. Life gets in the way,
Yep.
Okay, now I'm going to work on it some more.
yeah, I get it.
And
Like
then-
I was just like, okay, but it was a long time coming.
It was a
though.
long
And
time coming.
Then
And
COVID comes around. It's like, well, I got a good reason to work on it.
bad thing about that is everybody else was working on their cars during COVID, I guess, because they were off of work,
Yep.
and the parts were starting. Everybody was out of everything. I just need something simple. We're out.
I just need an oil change.
Well, no, I mean, it's just like simple things like a drive shaft yoke. So we don't have, because I wanted a billet one, a
Yeah.
1350, heavy duty. Well, nobody's got any. I finally found one at Summit, So just little things were just holding the car up. So it's got a big block with a custom built big block, and a 6-speed Tremec, and so that's just been a joy to drive. Like, even though the motor's a little healthy, but the 6-speed really helps. But I learned so much, on the car lowering it, that it causes all kind of other issues. I mean, and guys that build cars know this, but I was learning that.
I mean, you get suspension
Problems, suspensions, and it still rubs a little bit. Trying to get everything set right.
Yeah.
Transmission needs to get your drive line angles. You had to jack the transmission way up in the air.
Yep.
To get your drive angles right, and so I had those problems. Modify the floor pan a little bit. So all those little obstacles kept coming up. But with some help, and then trying to find a painter, because although I painted cars for a long time, I didn't have a shop to paint.
You want somebody that had like a booth.
And I'm kind of out of practice. I did it a lot 25 years ago, but hadn't done it lately. So I'm just going to take it. And so I couldn't find anybody. They were either too busy working on the insurance work. If I can get to it, it'll be about 2 years, And every shop was like that. And so I'm getting a little down about it. And so because the car's it's ready to go. It's in high build primer. I got it running. I've trimmed out what paint work I can. I can't do anything else to finish it until I get it painted, the outside painted. So I bumped into a guy named Craig Scott at a car show, and he has a 56, nice 56. Hey, who painted your car? I did. It's like, oh, well, you want to paint another one? He said, yeah. I said, well, when can you do it? Oh, a couple of weeks. I was like, a couple of weeks. And so guess where I was at in a couple of weeks? I had it loaded up on a trailer, dropping it off at his house. He's got a shop behind his house. He's retired. And he does it as a hobby. So
that's cool right there.
And so, all right, now we're going. And so he had it for 6-7 months. Got it back like this. So then I had to finish assembly,
Yeah.
bumpers, glass, interior, trim. That took till about, this was back last summer. So then it took me to about probably took me about March. Yeah, about March. I finished it the first week of April.
This year?
This year.
Oh, wow. Okay,
so it's just finished.
Yeah, so I've seen like your car like maybe two or three times at this point out there for everyone watching, and it's like, wow, I didn't know that I probably saw it at one of the first shows.
It's like, yeah, I've just gotten it out, and so it came out exactly how I wanted, and I'm pretty tickled with it. I'm still working on them. You never finish, but still tinkering with something. But it's gotten a lot of attention. And, so you build cars for people to enjoy. It's not so much about me, or I don't care. I mean, it's fun, but.
Or you be like me. I build mine to have fun driving around the car show and then talk everybody's ear off.
Yeah, if you've done it a long time, it's not that you're bored with it, but it's like, okay, yeah, it's great. But I really want people to enjoy the car. I want people that maybe remember having one as a kid, or their dad had one, or they just thought they were great and they want to look at it and enjoy it. That's all I care about, So that's what's important. And so that's where I'm at with it. Just now getting it out and showing it and having fun with it, driving it around. So.
Let me ask you, is your friend still around that used to own it?
Yeah, he is, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. I got to track him down. So now that I've got it finished,
you got to as soon as you talk to him, like, we're gonna have one more story after that.
Yeah.
I want to know what your friend said.
I don't know what he's gonna say. He saw it. He saw it back when I did the first kind of I'll call it refinish on it and drove it for back when I was driving it every day because it looked decent. He's really enjoyed it, but he didn't regret selling it. You know, I want to show it to him again now.
I can't wait till he sees it now because now he's gonna be like, so.
Remember that old car you had?
You know that's my old car, right?
Yeah, that's what they always do. You know, that's really my car. That's what people say. That was really my car. You're just lucky I sold it to you. So, and everybody seems to be reacting to the car pretty good. They really, really like it.
It's a head turner, man.
Yeah.
Like you hit the nail on the head with the on the style that was gonna attract attention.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, and you got that.
Yeah.
You got that in folds here, man. You got it good. Like I have more questions for you, but
That's okay.
These racing that you did when you were a kid with your friend.
Yeah.
I want to go back to some of them. Like, tell us the stories. Just one or two.
Just street racing, back in the day. We got away with a lot of stuff in the day.
What's the wildest one that you can remember?
Well, I remember there was a Madison County Dragway in Huntsville.
Okay.
It's called Huntsville Drag Strip now, Huntsville Dragway. Anyway, in the old days it was Madison County.
Okay.
And in those days it was kind of out in the county. Now it's surrounded by houses and everybody's griping. But like, well, you knew it was there before you built the houses. Like, it's not our fault, because it's too loud, So we were just goofing around, just race. This Camaro was actually faster than my Chevy too, but I could get him off the line. But it was a little stronger on top end. So we were about even, but he got me a bunch of times. But it was a Saturday night cruise ins at A&W. Mm-hmm. And we did all that stuff, man. It was fun. And then the street racing in Huntsville, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there used to be there's a road called and the people from Huntsville know this from the area. Martin Road. We're going to Martin Road. It's like if you're meeting up at Crystal or A&W, all right, we're running at Martin Road. Somebody's running somebody in an hour at Martin Road. So everybody's going to Martin Road. So Martin Road, if you go down the Parkway, and there, have the Arsenal is out there.
I don't know where anything's at.
Well,
so
there's a Redstone Arsenal in south end of the county below Huntsville, and it backs up to Huntsville's city limits. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a gate down there on Martin Road.
Yeah.
A gate to get into the Arsenal. Well, now it's manned during the day when people go in and out of work, but at night it's closed. So this is a dead end road going into it was a racetrack. So we go down to the dead end road and race back toward the Parkway, and it was long, straight. That was your racetrack. So that's where everybody raced. Until the cops would get on to us and then run us all off, but they never really did anything to us. But we had lookouts down on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
got 5-0 coming.
5-0's coming. But you didn't have cell phones back then. So somebody had to be down there with their headlights,
Yeah.
And like a relay. Somebody's flashing, they're like, the cops are coming. And so everybody scatter. And, but yeah, one of the cop stories, everybody's got a cop story. I don't know if you do.
Oh, I got a handful of them.
I never got in trouble but once with this car. And it was with a lady cop, and she was not happy. And but the coolest cop story was with the Chevy too. We had a little shop that we worked on our hot rods, and it was on the north end of Huntsville. So one of my 8 o'clock at night test and tune sessions, fiddling with the car, and the Chevy 2 was pretty hot. I think people, if you may remember it from the old days, if they were in Huntsville at that time, it was bright red, had the really strong 302 motor in it that I'd really
305.
302.
302?
A 302, a 4-inch bore, 3-inch stroke, a 302 engine.
Okay.
And it had a fender well headers coming out the inside of the fenders and down behind the wheels, kind of like a gasser runs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a tension gear, and it was loud and nasty. And not super fast because it had a small motor, but it was quick.
Yeah.
And so a test and tuning, this is 8 o'clock at night. So I go down, I'm running it. I must have been fiddling with the carburetors. I don't know what I was doing. This was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And so this was on a city road, a four lane. It's kind of not much traffic at that time of night. Might have been on a Friday night, I don't remember. Mm-hmm. So I go up there to turn around in this school parking lot, and I'm going to go back out and head back to the shop. I guess there were 2 cops sitting in that parking lot. So I pull into the parking lot, cruise around. They're probably watching me the whole time. I come back around, I'm gonna pull out on the main road, and I just, pull out and light them up. I mean, I'm hauling back toward the shop. And I pull into the shop, get out of the car, and there's 2 cop cars sitting behind me. And I've already got out of the car, and it's like, oh no. And cause I was going fast. And the one guy, the other cop, is looking at my car with a flashlight, and then the cop that's yelling at me, and he's, going through his spiel. Like, you can't be speeding, you can't do this. How fast were you going? I said, I don't know, probably fast. I wasn't trying to be smart, and I said, he said, didn't you not see us sitting right there? And I said, I had no idea. Where were y'all at? We were sitting right behind the bushes talking, and you burned out right in front of us. And it's like, golly. It's like, I'm in trouble, man. I'm in big trouble. And he's going on and on and on and on. He's mad. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, I'm gonna get reckless driving. I'm gonna get speeding. I'm gonna get no mufflers. I'm gonna get it all. Anything you can think of.
Yeah.
So he kind of gets through, and he's standing there, with his flashlight, and he's going, what you got under the hood? I said, what? Yeah, let me see under the hood. And I go, okay. So I open the hood, and he sees the motor, and he's like, and then the other cop comes around, and they start asking me all these questions. What kind of motor is that? What kind of cam you got? What's in that thing? And so I was like, man, am I gonna get out of this? And so he's asking a million questions. And so we're just talking like car guys all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he's like asking me a million questions about the car. And he finally just says, okay, hold it down out there. And they get in their car and drive off.
Oh, God.
No ticket. No nothing.
Wouldn't happen these days.
It wouldn't happen these days.
No,
I don't think so.
It sounds to me like you probably caught the break of they were car guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is one of those things that I don't like these days, where it's like most people, there's not many car people anymore, at least not young ones, and much less in the police force. So it's one of those things. I'm like, policemen, like really, literally just yesterday, I had a police guy come up, talk to me about my Charger.
Yeah.
He said, man, I'd love to have, this is like dream car status. I want one someday, and I was like, well, sit on it, see how you fit, have fun with it, dude. Cause go ahead. That's what I'm about,
Well, we're,
but thinking about it though, it's just like, I don't even think that guy, in all honesty, like not to call anyone out, but it's like, I don't even think he, in all honesty, would let me get away if I was caught doing something like that. Just because it's not the norm anymore.
Well, I think the only thing I think they realized I was just too dumb to even see him sitting there, and I wasn't doing it on purpose to just like mess with him, like see if I can get in trouble. And then since I stopped and I didn't continue, I just stopped and pulled over. Like, he really didn't see us, he wouldn't have pulled over if he had seen us. So anyway, but even in those days, I won't say they were lighter on you, but I think they kind of understood. If you weren't doing something really bad, you might get a ticket. And I did get muffler tickets, but what you do, you'd go down to Worth Muffler, you get them to weld some mufflers on, and then you drive it to the police station and then get somebody to sign off the ticket that you fixed it. And then you go right back to home and you take them off. And so you set them over in the corner in case you needed them again. And so you put the straight glass packs back on it and be loud again. So that's just the way we did things. I mean, it was a different time. I mean,
more fun for car guys.
It was more fun for car guys. I love the cops. Man, we got to have them. And we loved the cops then. I mean, you didn't do anything to disrespect them.
Yep.
And so there was really only a couple that really wanted to bust us. Most of them were somewhat tolerant, as long as you were kind of kept it in control.
Yeah.
They understood. we could have been doing a lot more bad things, than just messing around with cars, So as long as we weren't endangering people's lives. But anyway, that was, some of the hot rod stories. So.
Yeah. Well, how about we get in here in this one run just to hear some of this, the
Sure.
muffler on this one then?
Yeah, it's not got, I haven't finished the exhaust, but they're just dumped out at the axle, but that's just the way I got it going right now.
Well, that just tells everybody that's watching it's going to sound good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not super loud.
All right. Well,
I got it kind of toned down for the neighbors.
Sure.
No, I mean, it was louder.
I heard you coming, but
Yeah.
all right, well, let's get right into it.
Okay.
So there you have it, guys. Tim Herfurth and his 1967 Chevy Camaro. And Tim, you know, I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about it and everything, even though it is half Firebird here when I thought I was going to be looking at a Camaro, but you know, it's a beautiful fire Camaro.
It's only got one piece of a Firebird.
I'm just joking with you, man. But it's a beautiful car. Everybody that worked on it did an amazing job. And honestly, I really love the fact that it's your friend's car.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear his reaction to it, like whether he sees it in person or you tell him about it or you just send him this video.
I'll try to get him. I'll try to get him. And
kind of do all the trifecta
yeah.
there. And if you can get him on film so that everybody out there can see his reaction and get it to me, and as long as he doesn't mind, you know,
that's cool.
that'll be a good little follow-up, and everybody stay tuned.
We'll try. We'll try for that.
But Tim, with that, is there anything that you might like to tell somebody that might be watching?
I would just appreciate everybody that's helped me with the car, and then I encourage everyone to appreciate car show guys and people that bring out old cars, because you know we really do it for the fans that want to see these old cars and appreciate them again. You know, I appreciate the car. I'll never sell it. My family will probably keep it, but I enjoyed building it. I finally got it finished, and just going to enjoy cruising it up down the roads and letting you guys see it. So I'll be at as many car shows as I can, trying to share it. And so
if you're in North Alabama, keep an eye out. Go talk to him, get some more of these stories from him.
Yeah.
Poke him and be like, "Have you told your friend yet?"
No, right. And
Like,
you know, ask me stuff. You know, I can help.
Yeah.
So with your projects, so we all share. That's one thing about the car community. We all learn from each other and share things with each other. So it's fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good group of people.
Good group.
But man, I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me your time and talking to me about your car.
Yes, sir.
But with that, we're going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.
At the next car show.
There you have it, folks. Be sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.